Hello students, in present video I am going to explain about principles of management. Means what? In any organization, while managing the organization and while dealing with staff, every manager needs some guidelines. These guidelines are known as principles of management. There are two experts who have developed the principles of management, Henry Fayol and Frederick Winslow Taylor. In present video, we are going to concentrate on the principles of management given by Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol, a French industrialist, built the foundation for modern management theory. He was born on 29th July 1841 in Istanbul, Turkey. He was died on 19th November 1925 in Paris. In 1860, he took degree in mining engineering and began working as an engineer at a large coal mining company in France. In 1888 year, he became the managing director of that company. When he took the charge, the company was about to close, but he developed the company with his different management strategies. When he retired in 1918, the company's financial position was sound. He told that the reason for his success is the management system which he followed. With his working experience, in 1916, he wrote a book in French language under the title Administration Industrielle Generale. But this book was not translated in English and not available outside the French. Because of these delays, the contribution of Henry Fayol couldn't make much impact on the development of management. But in 1949, this book was translated in English language under the title General and Industrial Management. Today, this book is considered as one of the classics of management literature. Under the theory of Fayolism, Henry Fayol has prescribed these 14 principles of management. These 14 points are useful to managers while executing their managerial functions. These 14 points are applicable to all types of organizations. How to remember these 14 points? There is one technique, mnemonic. Under this technique, starting letters of these 14 points we take, and with these 14 letters, we frame a simple rhyme. Suppose a child is asking his dad, "Dad, you see USSR?" Dad says, "Oh, I see." Here, D stands for division of labor. A stands for parity of authority and responsibility. D stands for discipline. U stands for unity of command. C is for centralization. U, unity of direction. S, subordination of individual to general interest. S, scalar chain. R, remuneration of personnel. O, order. I, initiative. S, stability of tenure of personnel. E, equity. E, Esperate D corps. In present video, first 6 points I am going to explain. Remaining points I will explain in my next video. So in present video, first 6 points related material is also I am giving. In description box you can get the material. Let us start with first point, division of labor. Division of labor is also known as division of work. While assigning the duties to subordinates, manager should not assign whole work to one person. That work should be divided into small jobs or tasks. Each worker should be assigned a particular task. When one worker does the same job repeatedly, it leads to specialization. He becomes an expert in that work. It increases the quality of work, speed of production, and decreases the wastage of raw material. For example, a furniture manufacturer gets an order from customer. Order is to manufacture 100 fixed tables. Each table is made with wooden top supported by 4 iron legs. He has 4 workers, A, B, C and D. There are 2 methods to assign the work to these workers. First method is 100 tables we have to manufacture. There are 4 workers. So 100 tables divided by 4 workers is equal to 25 tables. So each worker should be asked to complete 25 tables. Second method of assigning the work is this whole work, manufacturing of tables, is to be divided into 4 small jobs. First one is cutting the wood boards in desired shapes. Second one, cutting the metal template and making iron legs. Third one, coating, polishing and painting work. And finally, assembling the tabletop and legs. Now worker A should be assigned this first work, cutting the wooden boards. Worker B, cutting the metal template, and so on. Fayol prefers this second method of allotting the work. Take another example. In bank, one person will be appointed to take care of cash deposits, and one person will be appointed for cash withdrawals. One person is meant for entering the transactions in passbooks. Then one person will be recruited to listen to customer queries. Division of labor is applied in companies also. In public limited companies, in joint stock companies, whole work will be divided into different departments. For example, finance department, marketing department, purchase department, production department, accounts department, research and development department, human resources department. For each department, a particular manager will be appointed. He is answerable for that particular department. Thus, division of labor leads to specialization in work. Now come to second principle. Parity of authority and responsibility. Authority means the power of giving orders to employees and receiving obedience from them. Responsibility means being accountable. Parity means balance. So this principle says that there should be a balance between authority and responsibility. These two should go hand by hand. These two are two sides of same coin. When responsibility is given to one employee, to complete that responsibility, some powers are to be given by the management. Similarly, when manager is exercising authority, automatically responsibility comes to him. So when manager is assigning some responsibility to his worker, worker is to be given some powers to execute that work. Then only he can complete that work. So giving responsibility without authority makes the worker ineffective. For example, CEO of a company has doubled the sales target of sales manager. So to make sales manager responsible for sales, CEO has to allow some powers to sales manager, such as recruiting extra sales staff, increasing the advertisements, etc. So when responsibility is given to subordinate, to execute that responsibility, required authority should be allowed by the manager. On the other hand, when manager is exercising authority, automatically he becomes responsible for that. For example, take your college. Who is exercising authority in your college? Principal. Suppose you failed in exam. Then who becomes answerable? Who has to take the responsibility? Not the lecturer, but principal. Without taking responsibility, if manager exercises authority, it leads to irresponsibility. Manager may misuse his powers. Third principle is discipline. Discipline in the context of management means obedience and respect towards organizational rules and regulations. Discipline is required for the smooth administration of organization. A manager can enforce a discipline in the workers by exercising these three functions. Good supervision at all levels, clearly explaining the organizational rules to workers, and implementing a system of reward and punishment. Discipline is required not only on the part of workers, even on the part of management also. A manager should not misuse his powers. For example, a sales manager has given the power of allowing credit facility to customers. Say he is allowing credit facility only to his relatives and friends, but not to outside customers. So this is known as indiscipline because he is not exercising his powers properly. He is misusing them. Take another example. One company's financial position is not good. So management and the workers came to one agreement. So as per that agreement, workers are ready to work for overtime without demanding any remuneration. And management has accepted to increase their salaries when company's position becomes good. Now, as per discipline principle, these two parties, workers and managers, should give respect to these rules. So, as per these contract rules, worker should work for more time without demanding any extra wages. Similarly, when company improves, then management should increase the salaries of workers. Fourth principle is unity of command. Command should be united. Means one worker should have only one boss. He should receive instructions and orders only from one manager, and he should make answerable to only that person. If one worker receives instructions and orders from two or more than two bosses at a time, then he will be in a confusion. He cannot decide to whose instructions he has to give priority. So dual subordination negatively affects the effectiveness of worker. For example, marketing manager of a company has given order to sales representative. Complete a deal with the customer by allowing 10% discount. At the same time, other manager, finance manager ordered the sales representative not to allow more than 5% discount to the customer. So there is no unity of command here. Now sales representative will be in dilemma. Whose order is to be followed? Take another example. Abdul is working as a sales executive in one company. He received instructions from sales manager to sell more to reach targeted sales. At the same time, he received instructions from production manager to go slow in selling due to shortage of raw material. Now he will be in conflict. Whose order is to be followed? Not only to employee, if unity of command is not followed, managers also get some problems. Every manager would like his order is to be given priority. So this ego problem creates conflicts between these managers, and it adversely affects the running of organization. Fifth principle is unity of direction. This principle says that one manager should handle only one group of workers. He should not handle two or more than two group of workers at a time, because he cannot handle. For example, an automobile company is manufacturing two products, namely scooters and cars. Hence, this company has two separate divisions, Division 1, Division 2. Division 1 has 1000 workers and Division 2 has 3000 workers. Two products have separate manufacturing strategies, separate marketing strategies, and separate problems. Therefore, to deal these two divisions, two separate managers should be there. One person, one manager should not direct these two groups. Fifth point is unity of direction. Fourth point is unity of command. No? So these 2 points are interdependent. Unity of command is not possible without unity of direction. But there are some differences between these two principles. Let us see the differences between these 2 points. First point is meaning. Unity of command means what? One manager should give command to an employee. Means an employee should always receive instructions only from one boss. Unity of direction means what? There should be one manager for one group of employees. So to handle a group which is working for a common objective, only one manager should be there. So one manager should handle only one group at a time. He should not handle two or more than two groups. Second one, aim. Why a manager should follow unity of command? To avoid confusion and conflict. If unity of command is not followed, then one employee is going to receive instructions from two or more than two bosses. It leads to confusion in his mind. Not only that, when two managers give instructions to employee, every manager wants his order is to be given priority. It leads to conflict between these two managers. Next, unity of direction. What is the aim of this principle? Why a manager should follow this rule? To avoid overlapping of activities. Overlapping means what? Repetition of work. Assume in one organization there are 5 different groups. 5 managers are there. So unity of direction says that one manager should handle only one group. If this rule is not followed, then one manager may handle 2 or more than 2 groups at a time. If one particular group is handled by 2 or more than 2 managers at a time, it leads to repetition of work now, and it results in wastage of resources. Therefore, manager has to follow unity of direction principle. Third one, implications. Unity of command focuses on one employee. It says that one employee should receive instructions from only one boss. So it gives priority to an employee. Unity of direction, it focuses on the organization as a whole, because unity of direction says that one group of people who are working for a common goal should have only one manager. Here, group of people who are working for a common goal is known as organization only now. So unity of direction focuses on organization as a whole. Sixth principle is subordination of individual to general interest. Here, subordination means giving least preference. Individual interest means the benefit of one worker or one manager. General interest means the benefit of whole organization. So this principle says that individual interest is to be subordinated to general interest. Means general interest is above the individual interest. If manager is asked to place general interest and individual interest in order of priority, then manager should place general interest at first place. For example, one purchase manager is going to buy raw material for his company. He needs 100 tons of raw material. There are two suppliers in the market, A and B. A is ready to supply these goods at the rate of 10,000 rupees per ton. B is ready to supply the goods at the rate of 9,800 rupees per ton. Assume that A is his son only. If purchase manager gives priority to individual interest, then he places order with his son. Personally, it is beneficial to him, but it is loss to organization. If he gives priority to organizational benefit, then he has to place the order with supplier B. Personally, he has loss, but for organization, it is profitable. So this principle says that while taking the decision, he should give preference to general interest, organizational interest, and he should place order with B. Take another example. In one company, there is one employee who is demanding for a hike in his salary. So before taking the decision, manager has to take care of the interest of stakeholders. Stakeholders means who? Group of people who directly or indirectly deal with the company. So here the interest of employee is known as individual interest, employee's benefit, and the interest of stakeholders is known as general interest. So manager should give preference to stakeholders benefit, not to employee's personal benefit. If manager increases his salary, for him it will be beneficial. But assume that this decision affects the stakeholders negatively, then manager should not increase his salary. Here stakeholders means promoters, shareholders, creditors, debtors, financiers, tax authorities, customers and society. So they directly or indirectly deal with the company now. So the decisions which are taken by the manager for the benefit of one individual, one employee or worker, should not have a negative effect on the benefit of stakeholders. That is subordination of individual to general interest. So as I said, in present video, first 6 principles I explained. So remaining principles I will explain in my next video. Hope this video is helpful to you. Thank you.